Leticia Serrano is a normal teenage girl. She goes to school and is often seen hanging out with her friends. She's a family that loves and cares about her. After school, she would go to a local diner and hang out for hours. She was known in the community because she would volunteer often. She had good grades and was known as a role model to fellow students. But something was going on that not a lot of people knew about. Not even her family knew that every night Leticia Serrano would leave with a man much older than she was. He would buy her expensive things and tell her that he loved her. He brought up his financial situation, telling her it wasn't too good, and if she wanted a future with him, then she'd have to do something. He knew a way that they could make money fast. This man was trafficking Leticia Serrano. He would drive her to other men's houses, and she would be forced to go along with what he said. Leticia Serrano was 13 at this time. Now, she was able to get out by age 15, but most victims aren't as lucky. October 12, 2019, Leticia Serrano took her own life. She was never truly recovered from being with this man. Human trafficking is an event that has plagued our society for generations. The shipment of young boys and girls, men and women around the globe for forced labor or sex purposes. Today, I'll be focusing on sexual trafficking, specifically in children and teens in America. Today, I'll be going over how victims are persecuted and discriminated against, because it is most often not the abduction case the media likes to portray. The main issue with human trafficking is people being uninformed about how and where victims are coerced into these situations. 55% of all human trafficking victims are underage teenage girls, specifically between the ages of 12 and 14, while the entire age range can be as low as 1 year old up to when victims turn 18. The conviction rate for traffickers is often very low, with them being able to pay bail and not being sentenced to very much jail time anyways. The main place where cases are reported is the District of Columbia. There's more cases reported here than in any state, so it'll contribute greatly to the statistics brought up today. The UNODC put out a global report on human trafficking in 2018 with virtually thousands of cases going unreported. Now, cases are often private and not many people know about what is going on. Likely, the magnitude of the issue dramatically understates what is actually going on. The hotline states that the covert nature of the operations and lack of awareness caused for victims to go stories being untold and unknown about. Some experts argue that the opioid crisis has contributed greatly to human trafficking because those addicted to drugs are particularly susceptible to being trafficked. There are many different tactics used by traffickers to draw victims in. As I said earlier, abduction is a way that they are brought in, but is most often not the case. It's more likely a slow process known as grooming. Victims are usually brought in with a romantic approach. Someone will approach them on the street, maybe meet them online, and convince them to meet up with them, and slowly convince them that they are in love with them, and to get them to go along. An example of this is the story I told at the beginning of Leticia Serrano. Now, these are known and addressed as Romeo pimps. Now, we see cases like these all the time, and they are the most common. Now, another type is known as a Hollywood trafficker. You can find these in big cities such as Hollywood, LA, Miami, or New York. They tell the victim they're heading to a modeling, singing, or acting shoot that they think they'd be perfect for, and convince them to come along. They say they will have to do this just once, and then they'll be able to make it in the industry. Now, as we can all assume, it is not just once. The victim is repeatedly brought to these places, promised that soon they'll be able to go into the industry and be able to pursue their art form. Another trafficker is parents themselves. These are where we find the cases that start the youngest and go up until victims turn 18. Now, these are the cases where we see the victims most brainwashed and believe that what they're doing is normal, and they don't quite understand the severity of their situation. They may go out and do what their parents are telling them, as we've all probably done. Imagine if your parents had told you to do this. What is the chance that you'll say no? What'll happen if you say no? Because they're so young, they don't realize what is going on. These are another really common type. Now, let's head into spotting the signs. Spotting the signs for human trafficking is quite difficult because it is really common things. It's signs that someone has stayed up all night and seems dramatically tired during the day. If they seem more distant, secluded, secretive. Now, these are pretty normal things. You see people in the hallway all the time just walking by themselves. Now, As they get further along in the process, you may be able to see signs of physical abuse or distress. It's a difficult topic to delve into, but it can be easily understood quickly. If you're willing to reach out to these people and check on them, it could mean the world to them. Now, I've brought up a few numbers today. I want each of you to remember that these are not just numbers. Each one of these people is a person that is directly affected by human trafficking. They have friends and families. They know what is going on, but they might be ignorant to the signs, or they might not be able to see what is going on. Now, they may be ignorant to the signs or not quite knowing what's going on, but it's important that we are able to work as a community to get people away from these situations. If we can work together to spread awareness, it can help get people out of these situations each and every day. Thank you.